The world just witnessed an unprecedented moment. Pope Leo XIV, the most influential spiritual leader on the planet, personally attended a private birthday party unveiling a secret friendship that has lasted 4 decades. This is not just a story about celebration, it's a revelation that will change how you see power, loyalty, and the hidden bonds at the heart of the Vatican. Stay with us because what you're about to discover will shake your understanding of the papacy forever. If this revelation surprised you, smash that subscribe button, leave your thoughts in the comments, and join us as we uncover more secrets from inside the Vatican. Part 1. The unprecedented birthday appearance on the morning of June the 1st, 2025, as the sun rose over the ancient rooftops of Rome, a quiet yet extraordinary event was about to unfold within the city's sacred heart. While the world's attention was fixed on the Grand Jubilee celebrations in St. Peter's Square, a smaller, far more intimate gathering was quietly taking shape just steps away from the Vatican walls. The guest of honor at this gathering was not a cardinal, a diplomat, or a world leader, but a humble priest, Father Alejandro Moral, Superior General of the Augustinian Order, who was about to celebrate his 70th birthday. What made this occasion truly unprecedented was not the presence of esteemed guests from around the world, nor the setting within the storied halls of Santa Monica International College. Rather, it was the arrival of a figure whose very presence would elevate the event from a personal milestone to a moment of global significance, Pope Leo XIV himself. For centuries, the papacy has been shrouded in tradition, protocol, and a carefully maintained distance from the everyday joys and sorrows of ordinary life. Popes rarely if ever attend private birthday parties. Their schedules are dominated by official audiences, liturgical celebrations, and state visits. The image of the Pope is often one of solemnity and grandeur, are a spiritual father to billions, but rarely seen in the role of a personal friend or guest at a simple celebration. Yet on this remarkable day, Pope Leo XIV broke with centuries of precedent. After presiding over a major Jubilee Mass for families in St. Peter's Square, he quietly departed the Vatican accompanied by only a small and discreet entourage. His destination was not a palace or a diplomatic hall, but the familiar and welcoming environment of Santa Monica International College, a place filled with memories, laughter, and the enduring bonds of friendship. As he entered the college, there was no fanfare, no press corps, no grand announcements. Instead, the Pope was greeted with warm embraces and genuine smiles from the Augustinian friars and professors who had gathered to honor their brother, Father Alejandro. The atmosphere was one of familial affection, the kind that transcends titles and hierarchies. For those present, the sight of the Pope dressed simply moving with humility and ease among old friends was both astonishing and deeply moving. Many of the friars and faculty had known him not as the Supreme Pontiff, but as Robert Prevost, the earnest and compassionate student who had walked these very halls decades earlier. Now, as Pope Leo XIV, he returned not as a distant figure of authority, but as a friend among friends. The significance of this moment did not go unnoticed. In a world where leaders are often separated from the people they serve by layers of protocol and security, the Pope's decision to attend this birthday celebration in person sent a powerful message. It was a gesture of profound humanity, a reminder that even the highest office in the Catholic Church is at its heart about relationships, about loyalty, gratitude, and the enduring power of friendship. Throughout the afternoon, the celebration unfolded with a warmth and sincerity that belied the historic nature of the event. There were no elaborate speeches or formal toasts. Instead, there as laughter, storytelling, and the sharing of memories that spanned more than 4 decades. The Pope listened attentively as friends recounted stories from their student days, late-night study sessions, spirited debates, and the quiet moments of prayer that had shaped their spiritual journeys. At one point, Father Alejandro, visibly moved, stood to thank his guests. His words were simple but heartfelt. "To have my brother and friend here today, after so many years, is the greatest gift I could receive." The Pope responded not with a prepared address, but with a warm embrace and a few private words that only the two of them could hear. For those who witnessed it, this embrace captured the essence of the occasion. It was a moment that transcended the boundaries of office and title, revealing the deep well of affection and respect that had grown between these two men over a lifetime of shared faith and service. As the meal continued, the Pope moved easily among the guests, sharing stories and laughter with the same ease as any other member of the community. There was a palpable sense of joy in the room, a recognition that something truly special was taking place, something that would be remembered not only by those present but by the wider church and the world beyond. Outside, the college news of the Pope's visit began to spread first through whispers and then through official channels. Vatican observers and journalists were quick to note the unprecedented nature of the event. Commentators reflected on the significance of a pope choosing to spend his afternoon not in the halls of power, but in the company of old friends, celebrating the simple joys of life. For the Catholic faithful, the Pope's presence at this birthday celebration became a symbol of hope and renewal. It reminded them that the Church at its best is a community of love and support, a family bound together not by power or prestige, but by the humble bonds of friendship and service. The impact of the Pope's appearance extended far beyond the walls of Santa Monica International College. Around the world, Catholics and non-Catholics alike were inspired by the image of a leader who was willing to set aside protocol and tradition in order to honor a friend. Social media buzzed with messages of admiration and gratitude as people shared their own stories of friendship and the ways in which such relationships had shaped their lives. In the days that followed, commentators continued to reflect on the significance of the event. Some saw it as a sign of a new era in the papacy, one marked by greater openness, humility, and personal connection. Others viewed it as a powerful reminder of the importance of loyalty and gratitude in a world that often values ambition and achievement above all else. For Father Alejandro, the day was a deeply personal affirmation of the bonds that had sustained him through decades of service. For Pope Leo XIV, it was an opportunity to honor a friend, to express gratitude for the relationships that had shaped his own journey, and to remind the world that even the greatest leaders are at their core human beings in need of love and connection. As the sun set over Rome and the guests began to depart, there was a sense that something profound had taken place, something that would resonate in the hearts of all who witnessed it for years to come. The unprecedented birthday appearance of Pope Leo XIV was more than a simple act of friendship. It was a testament to the enduring power of human connection, a beacon of hope in a world too often divided by distance and difference. In the quiet that followed, those who had been present at Santa Monica International College knew they had witnessed history, not the kind written in official documents or commemorated in grand monuments, but the kind that lives on in the hearts of those who understand that the greatest acts of leadership are often the simplest acts of love and loyalty. Part 2. A secret friendship revealed. The war eld often sees the Pope as a distant figure cloaked in white, surrounded by protocol and separated from ordinary life by the walls of the Vatican. But the story behind Pope Leo XIV's unprecedented birthday appearance reveals a side of the papacy rarely witnessed by the public, a story of loyalty, humility, and a friendship that has quietly endured for 4 decades. To understand the depth of this bond, one must journey back to the early 1980s, a time when Rome was alive with the energy of young scholars drawn from every corner of the globe. Among them were 2 men who would one day leave indelible marks on the Catholic Church: Robert Francis Prevost, a thoughtful and driven seminarian from Chicago, and Alejandro Moral, a passionate and inquisitive Augustinian friar from Spain. Their paths first crossed at the Santa Monica International College, a modest yet vibrant institution nestled in the heart of Rome. The college was a melting pot of cultures, languages, and traditions, a place where future leaders of the Church forged not only their theological understanding, but also lifelong friendships. Robert and Alejandro were both outsiders, in a sense, far from their homelands, navigating the challenges of rigorous academic study and the complexities of life in a foreign city. But it was precisely this sense of displacement that drew them together. They found in each other a kindred spirit, someone who understood the weight of expectations, the longing for home, and the quiet doubts that sometimes accompanied their vocations. Their friendship began simply with shared meals in the college refectory and late-night conversations in the common room. They debated theology, discussed the future of the Church, and confided their hopes and fears. Both were known for their intellect and dedication, but it was their sense of humor and ability to find joy in small things that cemented their bond. As the years passed, their friendship deepened. They supported each other through the challenges of advanced study. Robert at the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas Alejandro at the Pontifical Biblical Institute, and later the Gregorian University. They celebrated each other's successes and offered solace in moments of disappointment. When Robert's mother fell ill back in Chicago, Alejandro was the first to offer prayers and practical support. When Alejandro faced doubts about his calling, Robert listened without judgment, helping him rediscover his purpose. Their friendship was not without its trials. The pressures of academic life were intense, and both men faced moments of crisis. There were times when their paths diverged. Robert returned to the United States to serve in parish ministry and leadership roles, while Alejandro remained in Europe, rising through the ranks of the Augustinian order. Yet despite the distance, their bond endured. Letters, phone calls, and occasional visits kept their connection alive, each exchange a reminder of the trust and affection that had grown between them. As the years turned into decades, both men rose to positions of great responsibility. Robert Prevost became a bishop, then a cardinal, and finally, in a moment that surprised even those closest to him, was elected Pope Leo XIV. Alejandro Morral, meanwhile, became the Superior General of the Augustinian Order, guiding his community through times of change and challenge. Despite their lofty titles, the essence of their friendship remained unchanged. They continued to share personal news, to pray for each other's families, and to seek counsel in times of difficulty. Their conversations, whether in person or by correspondence, were marked by honesty, humility, and a deep sense of mutual respect. It was this enduring friendship that set the stage for the remarkable events of June 1st, 2025. When Pope Leo XIV received the invitation to Father Alejandro's 70th birthday celebration, he did not hesitate. For him, this was not merely a social obligation or a public relations opportunity, it was a chance to honor a friend who had walked with him through every stage of his journey. The decision to attend the birthday party in person was not made lightly. The Pope's schedule is famously demanding and security concerns are ever present. But for Leo XIV, the importance of friendship outweighed the inconvenience. He saw in this occasion an opportunity to affirm the values that had guided his life: loyalty, gratitude, and the belief that true leadership is rooted in authentic relationships. The world would later learn of the Pope's presence at the celebration, but only those closest to him understood the full significance of the gesture. For Leo XIV, this was not about making headlines or breaking with tradition. It was about honoring a promise made long ago to never let the demands of office overshadow the bonds of friendship. During the celebration, guests witnessed the depth of this relationship firsthand. The Pope and Father Alejandro moved easily among the gooey STs, sharing stories and laughter that spoke of years of shared experience. There was an ease between them that transcended titles and positions, a familiarity born of countless conversations, shared struggles, and mutual support. At one point, as the afternoon sun filtered through the college windows, the two friends found themselves alone in a quiet corner of the garden. There, away from the eyes of the world, they spoke not as Pope and Superior General, but as Robert and Alejandro, two men who had grown from idealistic students into leaders of the Church, yet had never lost sight of the friendship that had sustained them. Their conversation was private, but those who passed by could sense the affection and understanding that flowed between them. There were moments of laughter, moments of quiet reflection, and perhaps a few tears. It was a reminder that even those who carry the greatest burdens of responsibility are at their core human beings in need of connection and support. As the celebration drew to a close, Father Alejandro stood to address the assembled guests. His words were simple but profound. Today I am reminded that the greatest gift in life is not achievement or recognition, but the presence of friends who walk with us through every season. I am grateful beyond words for the friendship that has shaped my journey and for the honor of sharing this day with all of you. The Pope's response was equally heartfelt. He spoke not as a pontiff, but as a friend. Alejandro, our paths have taken us to places we never imagined, but through it all, your friendship has been a constant source of strength and joy. Today I celebrate not only your birthday, but the gift of your presence in my life. For those present, these words were a revelation. They saw in the Pope not only a spiritual leader, but a man of deep feeling and loyalty, a man who valued friendship as highly as faith. The story of Leo XIV and Alejandro Morral quickly spread beyond the walls of Santa Monica International College. Journalists and commentators reflected on the significance of their bond, noting that such relationships are rare in a world often defined by competition and ambition. Many saw in their friendship a model for the Church and for society at large, a reminder that true greatness is found not in isolation, but in the company of those who know and love us best. For the Catholic faithful, the revelation of this 40-year friendship was a source of inspiration and hope. It reminded them that even the highest offices are held by people who laugh, cry, and cherish the simple joys of companionship. It was a story that humanized the papacy, making the Pope not just a distant figurehead, but a brother, a friend, and a fellow traveler on the journey of life. In the days and weeks that followed, letters and messages poured into the Vatican, many from people who had been moved by the story. Some shared their own experiences of friendship, others expressed gratitude for the Pope's example, and still others found in the story a renewed sense of hope for the Church and the world. For Pope Leo XIV and Father Alejandro, the celebration was a milestone, but not an ending. Their friendship, forged in the crucible of youth and tested by the challenges of leadership, would continue to be a source of strength and joy for years to come. In the quiet moments after the guests had departed and the college had returned to its usual rhythm, the two friends sat together one last time, reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this day. They spoke of the past, of the challenges yet to come, and of the enduring power of friendship to sustain, inspire, and transform. It was a conversation that needed no audience, no headlines, and no fanfare. For in the end, the greatest friendships are those that endure not because of circumstance, but because of the quiet, steadfast commitment to walk together through every season of life. And so as the sun set over Rome, the secret of their 40-year friendship was no longer hidden, but celebrated, a testament to the enduring power of love, loyalty, and the bonds that unite us all. Part 3. The emotional gathering. The sun was high and golden as the guests began to arrive at Santa Monica International College, just a stone's throw from the Vatican's ancient walls. The air was filled with a gentle anticipation, a sense that something rare and beautiful was about to unfold. For most, this was not just another birthday party, it was a reunion of souls bound by decades of shared faith service and memory. But for a fortunate few, it was also a chance to witness history in the making. Inside the college, the halls echoed with familiar laughter and the soft shuffle of sandals on polished floors. The scent of fresh bread and herbs drifted from the kitchen, mingling with the subtle aroma of incense that lingered from morning prayers. In the main dining hall, long tables were set with simple white linens, fresh flowers, and handmade placards, each one inscribed with care by the students and friars who called this place home. Father Alejandro Morral, the guest of honor, moved quietly among the early arrivals, greeting each with a warm embrace or a gentle clasp of the hand. His eyes shone with gratitude and humility, and his smile was that of a man who understood the true value of friendship and the fleeting nature of time. For him, this was not just a celebration of years, but of the relationships that had shaped his journey. As the room filled, the energy grew. There were Augustinian friars from distant continents, professors from the Augustinianum Patristic Institute, former students now serving in parishes and missions around the world, and a handful of laypeople whose lives had been touched by Alejandro's wisdom and kindness. Each arrival was greeted with genuine affection, and soon the hall was alive with the sound of overlapping conversations, laughter, and the occasional burst of song. But the greatest moment of anticipation came as word spread that Pope Leo XIV had arrived. There was no grand announcement, no trumpet or fanfare, just a subtle shift in the room's energy as the Pope, dressed simply in his white cassock, entered with a gentle smile and a twinkle in his eye. For a moment, conversation ceased as all eyes turned to him, not with the awe reserved for distant royalty, but with the warmth and familiarity of a brother returning home. The Pope moved easily among the guests, greeting old friends by name, exchanging hugs and handshakes, and pausing to listen as each person shared a memory or a blessing. To those who had known him as Robert Prevost, the earnest seminarian, his presence was both astonishing and deeply comforting. He had not changed. They said he was still the same humble, attentive friend who had once studied, prayed, and laughed with them in these very halls. The atmosphere was unlike anything the college had ever seen. There was a palpable sense of joy, but also a quiet reverence, hence a recognition that this gathering was more than the sum of its parts. It was a living testament to the power of community, the endurance of friendship, and the grace that can be found in the simplest acts of love. As the meal began, the room was filled with the clatter of dishes, the clinking of glasses, and the soft murmur of prayers offered in gratitude. The food was simple, but abundant fresh bread, local cheeses, roasted vegetables, and hearty stews prepared by the college's kitchen staff, many of whom had known Father Alejandro for decades. Each dish was served with care, and the guests ate with the relaxed pleasure of those who know they are among friends. Throughout the meal, stories flowed as freely as the wine. There were tales of youthful mischief, midnight debates in the library, impromptu soccer matches in the courtyard, and the infamous incident when a group of students had accidentally set off the fire alarm during a late-night study session. Laughter rang out as old friends recounted the challenges and triumphs of their shared past, and even the Pope was seen wiping tears of mirth from his eyes as he listened to a particularly outrageous anecdote. But there were also moments of quiet reflection. As the conversation turned to the present, many spoke of the challenges facing the Church and the world, of wars and poverty, of the loneliness that often accompanies leadership, and of the need for compassion and understanding in a time of division. In these moments, the Pope listened intently, offering words of encouragement and hope, but also acknowledging the difficulties that lay ahead. At one point, a young friar recently arrived from Africa stood to offer a toast. His voice trembled with emotion as he spoke. Today we are reminded that the Church is not just an institution, but a family. We are brothers and sisters, united not by blood, but by love and faith. Father Alejandro, your life has been a beacon for us all. And Holy Father, your presence here today is a gift beyond measure. Thank you for showing us that true leadership is rooted in humility and friendship. The hall erupted in applause, and the Pope, moved by the words, rose to embrace the young friar. It was a simple gesture, but one that spoke volumes, a reminder that the greatest leaders are those who never lose sight of their own humanity. As the meal drew to a close, Father Alejandro was invited to speak. He stood quietly for a moment, gathering his thoughts as the room fell silent. When he spoke, his voice was steady but filled with emotion. My dear friends, today I am overwhelmed by gratitude, not for the years I have lived, but for the people who have walked with me on this journey. Each of you has been a blessing in my life, a reminder of God's love and faithfulness, and to have my brother Pope Leo XIV here with us today is a gift I will cherish for the rest of my days. Let us give thanks not for what we have accomplished, but for the love that sustains us, the friendships that strengthen us, and the faith that guides us forward. His words were met with a standing ovation and as the guests embraced and exchanged blessings, there was a sense that something sacred had taken place. It was as if, for a few precious hours, the burdens of the world had been set aside, replaced by the simple joy of being together. After the meal, the celebration moved to the college's garden, where the guests gathered beneath the shade of ancient olive trees. There, the Pope and Father Alejandro walked together, arm in arm, sharing a private conversation as the others looked on with affection. Children played nearby, their laughter mingling with the songs of birds and the distant tolling of church bells. For many, this was the most moving part of the day, a reminder that beneath the vestments and titles, these two men were simply friends, united by a lifetime of shared joys and sorrows. Their bond was evident in every glance, every word, every gesture of affection. As the afternoon faded into evening, the guests lingered reluctant to let the moment end. Some took photographs hoping to capture the magic of the day, while others simply sat in quiet reflection, savoring the peace that had settled over the gathering. Before departing, the Pope offered a final blessing, inviting all present to join hands in a circle. His prayer was simple but profound. Lord, we thank you for the gift of friendship, for the love that binds us together, and for the grace that sustains us through every trial. May we always remember that in your eyes we are all brothers and sisters, called to serve, to love, and to walk together in faith. Bless this community, and may the bonds we celebrate today endure for all our days. Amen. As the guests dispersed, many paused to thank Father Alejandro and the Pope, personally expressing their gratitude for a day that had touched their hearts and renewed their spirits. For some, it was a reminder of the power of community. For others, a call to deepen their own friendships and to serve with greater humility and love. In the days and weeks that followed, the memory of the celebration lingered. Those who had been present spoke of it as a turning point, a moment when the barriers of office and hierarchy had melted away, revealing the true heart of the Church. For Father Alejandro, it was a day of affirmation and joy. For Pope Leo XIV, a chance to honor a friend and to remind the world that the greatest acts of leadership are often the simplest acts of love. But perhaps the most enduring legacy of the gathering was the sense of hope it inspired, in a world too often divided by fear and suspicion. This small, joyful celebration offered a vision of what is possible when people come together in humility, gratitude, and friendship. It was, in every sense, an emotional gathering, one that would be remembered not only for the presence of a pope, but for the love and humanity that filled every moment. Part 4. Personal bonds beyond the Vatican. For most of the world, the papacy is a symbol of spiritual authority, tradition, and the continuity of faith across centuries. The Pope is seen in grand processions, solemn ceremonies, and official audiences, always at the center of a carefully choreographed world stage. But on that remarkable day at Santa Monica International College, Pope Leo XIV offered a rare glimpse behind the veil of office, revealing the personal bonds and quiet loyalties that have shaped his life and leadership. As the afternoon light filtered through the olive trees in the college garden, the atmosphere remained charged with a gentle intimacy. The formalities of the Vatican had been left behind. Here, the Pope was not merely the vicar of Christ, but a friend, a brother, and a man whose life had been profoundly shaped by the people who walked beside him. This was a side of papal life few ever witnessed, a world where titles and hierarchy faded, replaced by laughter, shared memories, and the easy camaraderie of old friends. The heart of friendship. Throughout the celebration, guests were struck by the natural ease with which Pope Leo XIV moved among the group. He greeted each person by name, recalled shared experiences, and listened intently to stories and updates from their lives. There was no sense of distance or formality. Instead, there was a palpable warmth that radiated from the Pope, drawing people in and making them feel seen and valued. For Father Alejandro Morral, the birthday was more than a personal milestone. It was a celebration of the bonds that had sustained him through decades of ministry. His friendship with Leo XV, forged in the crucible of youth and tested by the trials of leadership, was a living testament to the power of loyalty and trust. In private moments, the two men reminisced about their student days, recalling late-night study sessions, philosophical debates, and the small acts of kindness that had cemented their bond. Their laughter echoed through the garden as the Y recounted stories that only old friends could share. Stories of youthful mistakes, shared dreams, and the lessons learned along the way. There was a sense that for all their accomplishments, it was these moments of connection that mattered most. The Pope, often seen as a distant figure, was revealed as a man who cherished the simple joys of friendship and the comfort of familiar company. Humility and humanity. What struck many observers was the humility with which Pope Leo XIV carried himself. Despite the weight of his office, he showed no sign of self-importance or detachment. He served himself at the buffet, poured wine for others, and joined in the communal cleanup after the meal. When a young seminarian nervously approached him with a question about vocation, the Pope listened patiently, offering encouragement and wisdom drawn from his own journey. This humility was not an act but a reflection of the values that had guided Leo XIV throughout his life. Those who knew him best spoke of his ability to make everyone feel important regardless of their status or background. He remembered birthdays, sent handwritten notes of encouragement, and made time for personal visits even in the midst of a demanding schedule. For the Augustinian friars and professors gathered that day, the Pope's presence was both an honor and a validation of their own work. Many had taught or mentored him during his formative years, and they took quiet pride in seeing their former student rise to the highest office in the Church. Yet in his interactions, Leo XIV never allowed the trappings of power to overshadow the bonds of gratitude and respect. The power of lifelong relationships. The story of Leo XIV and Father Alejandro is at its core a story about the enduring power of lifelong relationships. In a world where ambition and achievement often take precedence, their friendship stands as a reminder that true greatness is measured not by titles or accolades, but by the quality of one's relationships. Over the years, their bond had weathered distance, change, and the pressures of leadership. They had supported each other through personal losses, professional challenges, and moments of doubt. Their correspondence, filled with honesty and affection, was a lifeline during times of uncertainty. Even as their responsibilities grew, they made time for regular conversations, sharing both the joys and burdens of their respective roles. This commitment to friendship was evident in every detail of the birthday celebration. The Pope's decision to attend in person, eschewing the comfort and security of the Vatican for the familiarity of Santa Monica, spoke volumes about his priorities. For Leo XIV, friendship was not a luxury, but a necessity, a source of strength and inspiration that nourished his spirit and informed his leadership. Beyond protocol, the human face of leadership, the impact of the Pope's presence extended far beyond the walls of the college. News of his attendance spread quickly, sparking conversations across the Catholic world and beyond. Many commentators noted that such a gesture was unprecedented in modern times, a powerful symbol of humility and accessibility from a figure often perceived as remote. For the faithful, the image of the Pope laughing, embracing old friends, and sharing a simple meal was both surprising and deeply moving. It challenged preconceived notions about leadership, suggesting that the most effective leaders are those who remain grounded in their humanity. By prioritizing personal bonds over protocol, Leo XIV demonstrated that the heart of the Church lies not in its institutions, but in the relationships that bind its members together. This message resonated especially with young people, many of whom struggle to find authenticity and connection in a world dominated by social media and superficial interactions. The Pope's example offered a counter-narrative, one that emphasized the importance of loyalty, vulnerability, and the willingness to invest in others over the long term. The ripple effect. In the weeks following the celebration, stories began to circulate about the impact of the Pope's visit. Priests and lay people alike spoke of feeling renewed in their own commitments to friendship and community. Some reached out to old friends they had lost touch with, Others organized gatherings to celebrate the relationships that sustained them. Within the Vatican, the event sparked a quiet shift in culture. Staff members reported a renewed emphasis on kindness, gratitude, and personal connection. The Pope's example inspired others to prioritize relationships over routine, to see each interaction as an opportunity to build trust and understanding. For Father Alejandro, the birthday was a turning point, a reminder that even in the twilight of one's career, the bonds of friendship remain a source of joy and meaning. In the days that followed, he received letters and messages from around the world, many from people who had been moved by the story of his friendship with Leo XIV. Some shared their own experiences of enduring relationships. Others simply expressed gratitude for the reminder that at its best, the Church is a community of love and support, a legacy of love. As the sun set on that unforgettable day, there was a sense that something profound had taken place. The celebration was not just a personal milestone, but a public affirmation of values that too often go unrecognized: humility, loyalty, and the quiet heroism of steadfast friendship. For Pope Leo XIV, the day was a homecoming, a return to the roots that had shaped his character and sustained his vocation. For Father Alejandro, it was a celebration of a life well lived, enriched by the presence of friends who had walked with him through every season. Their story, now shared with the world, stands as a beacon of hope in a time of uncertainty. It reminds us that beyond the grandeur of office and the demands of duty, it is the simple, enduring bonds of friendship that give life its deepest meaning. And so as the last guests departed and the college returned to its quiet rhythms, the memory of the day lingered, a testament to the power of personal bonds to transcend even the highest walls, to bridge the distance between office and heart, and to illuminate the path of leadership with the light of love. Part 5. The impact on the Catholic community. The news of Pope Leo XIV's personal attendance at Father Alejandro Moral's 70th birthday celebration spread quickly, first through whispers among the Augustinian friars and guests, then through the grapevine of Vatican correspondence, and finally across the globe via news agencies, social media, and Catholic networks. What began as a quiet, intimate act of friendship soon became a story that resonated far beyond the walls of Santa Monica International College, a humanizing moment for the papacy. For many Catholics, the image of the Pope embracing his old friend, laughing among peers, and participating in a simple meal was both surprising and profoundly moving. The papacy for centuries had been shrouded in layers of tradition and protocol, often appearing distant and unapproachable. Yet here was Leo XIV, the spiritual leader of over 1 billion Catholics, stepping out of the formal trappings of his office to honor a personal relationship. The effect was immediate and deeply felt. Parishioners and priests alike spoke of feeling a new sense of closeness to the Pope. "It's as if he's one of us," said Sister Maria, a nun in the Philippines, in a televised interview. "He reminds us that even the Holy Father needs friends, that he laughs, loves, and cherishes the people who have shaped his life." This humanizing moment helped bridge the gap between the Vatican and the faithful. It made the Pope's teachings on humility, compassion, and community feel more authentic and accessible. "When I saw him at that birthday party," wrote a parish priest in Brazil, "I realized that the Church is not just about rules and rituals. It's about relationships, about walking together on the journey of faith." Inspiration for clergy and laity, the story of Leo XIV and Father Alejandro became a source of inspiration for clergy and laity around the world. Bishops and priests referenced the event in their homilies, using it as an example of servant leadership and the importance of nurturing personal bonds. Youth ministers shared the story with young people, emphasizing that even the greatest leaders are shaped by the friendships they cultivate. In seminaries and religious houses, the example of the Pope's humility sparked renewed conversations about the meaning of vocation and leadership. "We often think we have to be perfect to hide our weaknesses and keep our distance," said a young seminarian in Nigeria. But Pope Leo shows us that true strength lies in vulnerability, in being open to love and friendship. Lay Catholics too found themselves reflecting on their own relationships. Social media was feel-led with posts and comments about the importance of reconnecting with old friends, forgiving past grievances, and cherishing the people who walk with us through life. Many shared stories of reaching out to loved ones they had lost touch with, inspired by the Pope's example, a model for the universal Church. Beyond the personal inspiration, the Pope's gesture was seen as a model for the universal Church, a call to build a more compassionate, inclusive, and relational community. Catholic commentators noted that the Church at its best is a family united not by uniformity, but by the diversity of its members and the strength of their connections. Theologians and church leaders discussed the event in the context of synodality, the idea that the Church is a walking together of all the faithful with the Pope as a companion on the journey rather than a distant monarch. Leo XIV's presence at that birthday party is a living parable, wrote one Vatican observer. It shows us what synodality looks like not just in documents and meetings, but in the everyday gestures of love and loyalty. For religious communities, the story was a reminder of the importance of hospitality, gratitude, and shared celebration. Many convents and monasteries organized their own gatherings, inviting former members, friends, and neighbors to join in meals and prayers. We realized that our greatest treasures are not our buildings or traditions, but the people who have shaped our lives, said an abbess in Spain. Media coverage and public perception. The media quickly picked up on the story with headlines ranging from Pope Leo XIV breaks protocol for old friend's birthday to a pontiff's private side revealed in Rome. News outlets published photographs of the Pope smiling, embracing Father Alejandro, and mingling with guests in the college garden. Commentators praised the Pope's humility and authenticity, noting that such moments of vulnerability and connection are rare in public life. In a world hungry for genuine leadership, wrote a columnist in the New York Times, Pope Leo's simple act of friendship shines like a beacon. Even secular audiences found themselves moved by the story. Social media users who had little interest in church affairs shared the images and reflected on the universal value of friendship. You don't have to be Catholic to appreciate what the Pope did, tweeted one user. It's a reminder that no matter how powerful you become, you should never forget your friends. A catalyst for dialogue and healing. For some, the Pope's gesture was more than symbolic, it became a catalyst for dialogue and healing. In communities divided by conflict or suspicion, parish leaders used the story as a starting point for conversations about reconciliation and forgiveness. If the Pope can set aside protocol for the sake of friendship, said a priest in South Africa, maybe we can set aside our pride and reach out to those we've hurt or been hurt by. In places where the Church had been scarred by scandal or division, the story offered a vision of hope. It suggested that healing begins not with grand gestures or official statements, but with the small, everyday acts of kindness and connection that rebuild trust and restore community. The enduring message, as the initial excitement faded, the deeper message of the Pope's visit continued to resonate. For many, it was a call to return to the heart of the gospel, a reminder that love, humility, and friendship are not optional extras, but the very foundation of Christian life. In parishes, schools, and families, people began to ask themselves what it would mean to follow the Pope's example in their own lives. How could they make time for the people who mattered most? How could they show gratitude for the friendships that had sustained them? How could they build communities marked by warmth, generosity, and mutual support? The answers varied, but the spirit was the same. Across the world, Catholics and others found themselves inspired to live with greater intentionality, to cherish the bonds that give life meaning, and to see leadership not as a position of privilege, but as a call to serve and love. A legacy for the future, for Pope Leo XIV and Father Alejandro. The birthday celebration was a personal milestone, a moment of joy and gratitude in the midst of demanding lives. But for the Catholic community, it became something more, a sign of hope, a model of authentic leadership, and a reminder that the Church is above all a community of friends walking together toward God. As the years pass and new challenges arise, the memory of that day at Santa Monica International College will endure. It will be told and retold in homilies, classrooms, and family gatherings, not as a tale of protocol or power, but as a story of love, humility, and the quiet heroism of friendship. In the end, the impact of the Pope's gesture cannot be measured in headlines or statistics. Its true significance lies in the hearts it touched, the relationships it inspired, and the vision of church and community it brought to life, a vision in which every person, no matter how high or low, is cherished, valued, and loved. In the end, it is not titles or ceremonies that define us, but the friendships and kindness we share. Pope Leo XIV's simple act reminds us all, true greatness is found in humility, loyalty, and the love we give to others.